Hello, this is Ben Middleton recording for iPoker VIP Coaching. I'm going to start off the first part of my three-part video series by introducing myself to you all. I've been playing poker professionally for the last 5 years now. In that time I've played some of the highest stakes available online and racked up a large amount of experience along the way. Some of you may be wondering why you should bother watching my videos, so I think I'm going to give you a few reasons why you might want to keep tuned in. So whilst I've been playing poker for 5 years professionally, for 4 of those years I've been playing the high stakes, which is 510 plus in my opinion. For the last 2 years I took up PLO and have had a lot of success playing that game. I think it's a lot more fun than Hold'em, and you have a lot more options in certain spots. I do a lot of things I think other regs don't do, a lot of things that you might find profitable to add to your game. And finally, I really hope you enjoy watching my videos. If you have any criticism, then I'd be more than willing to respond and take it on board. So anyway, let's get on to the action. So for the video I'm going to be playing 3-6 primarily. I've got 2 tables up now, and I think I add a 2-4 table later on, but it'll be 3-6 mainly. I'm maximum bet 99 obviously, so let's get the action on the way. I've literally just sat down, so nothing really as interesting has happened. For those of you who are Hold'em players that think about taking up PLO, I would recommend you trying it. It's a lot of fun, I think. Obviously, just having more options is better. So I get a nice double suited hand here and raise the cutoff. On the right side, on table number 2, I've got a very powerful hand here. I probably will be 3-betting this hand depending on who opens and stack sizes, etc. I'm just looking at how much this guy UK Twaddle Open seems to play a lot of hands, so I think this is very, very easy 3-bet pre, and we'll take it what happens post. On the left table I get a very nice hand, double pair, double suited hand. I could 3-bet, but given the guy's stack size, it's not a hand that will play that well. So I think I prefer to flat pre with this hand and see a flop, especially when it goes multi-way, since my hand often flops top sets and often flops like the nut end of a straight. Now, I have flop top set in this hand, and obviously it's a pretty scary board. Any spade will kill my action. Obviously, some guy might suck out with the flush. I might be behind already to Jack 9 or Jack 9 or 9-6, but it's not that likely consideration since I have 2 jacks in my hand to block the top end straight, and there's fewer combinations of 9-6 pre than there are of Jack 9. Just thinking about the hands that people play pre-flop, there'd be more combinations of Jack 9 than 9-6. I've got an option on flop whether to lead or check. I think leading's best here. Alba's, the original pre-flop raiser, will check back a lot of time, and that means that like a bad turn from my hand might come, like a spade, or a 9 that will kill my action versus like a lower set. So I think just leading here for 60 is the best play. I could lead a bit smaller actually, since Alba's is short, but I don't think there's that many hands that are going to fold to a bigger bet than maybe a smaller bet of like 50 or 45. On the right table I've obviously flopped trips, and let's just go back to the flop here. Usually I probably would bet smaller on the spot because it's a board that I want to bet a lot of my air with. Um, but against a weaker player, I think just betting bigger is probably best. Just get more value, and um, it's not going to change his calling range too much between betting 45 and betting 70, because either he's got like an overpair and he'll call, or has like a weakish draw and will call, or he's just got nothing and he's going to fold. He might call with a 7 if I bet 45 rather than 70, but that's a very small part of his range. Luckily he does call, so now on the turn, I don't think checking is an option here because people are going to put you on like aces or kings if you check here. So I think betting kind of small is going to be the best option, like a third of the pot. On left table, Albert's jams, so obviously I have to call my top set, and I do win versus his nut flush draw, or nut flush draw. So on the right table, UK Twaddle, call twice. I've got an option now to check or bet. I think with a hand like Jack 10, 9, 6, no, not necessarily true. I think with maybe a 10 with that doesn't block his overpairs, like I've got an ace and a king in my hand, which makes aces and kings very unlikely for his hand. Also have a jack, which makes jacks pre-flop unlikely that Twaddle can have. So he probably has a misdraw, like 986, or maybe like 987, or he's got a boat and he's been slow playing, or he's got a 10 himself. If I bet, I'm only going to get value from 10s and boats, so I'd also lose to boats. He's not going to call with a misdraw, not even with the 7. It's, I doubt he would. It's a pretty heroic call. So I think I'm going to check, and I'm not expecting him to bluff a lot when I check to him, but I'm not going to get called by much worse if I bet, and generally the hands that will call my bet will shove themselves. Like I can't imagine him checking behind the river with a 10, because it looks like I've got aces and kings and might put him on a misdraw and call. So I decide to check. And unfortunately he checked behind pretty quickly. He had queens, which is a little unfortunate since he might well have called if I shoved and put me on a draw myself, but I think my play was probably the best because he can't have many strong hands in his range, and I think the ones that are strong will bet themselves when I check to anyway. So I folded the Queen 984. I think it's a very weak hand and wouldn't call a raise with that hand. It's it's just pretty disconnected, low flush draw. Gonna get yourself into problems if you play it. Here I play take a very weak hand like 9-6-2-4 and raise on the button. I generally play a lot of hands on the button, just because position is so powerful on PLO. So even if it looks really junky, and it's very marginal, I did raise it. I think it's okay, not fantastic, but okay. So Twaddle leads into me for pot. It's kind of a unusual line on this board. I decide to call. I don't think there's many options apart from, well, I guess I could raise small, because it's not kind of a board where you'd expect a person to lead for pot with a strong hand. Like, he must think I'm going to bet that board a lot, so when he's got like a set, he probably would want to go for a check raise rather than lead big. I've got an open-ender, but both of my outs, like the 8 and the 3, are to the nuts, and if he does have a strongish hand, like maybe like ace7 or ace5, or maybe he's leading a set, then I probably have got some decent implied odds, as well as maybe he'll make the lower end of a straight, like if an 8 comes he might have 6-4, and I might get his stack, so I think it's a pretty easy flop peel. It's just checking his don't bet stat there. So I turn a very weak flush draw. As well, the 10's kind of a bad card, because now the 8 doesn't make the nuts, even though it's not that big a consideration. But there's some chance he led with like Jack 9-8-7, and just to try and stab and take it down, and that would make my 8s not clean out at all. Would make me get into a lot of trouble. In fact, if I hit it with that hand. Saying that though, it's not that likely he has Jack 9 in his hand, and it's not that likely he's got clubs either. So probably going to call a reasonable sized bet on the turn, because of my immediate outs and some implied odds. He leaves a pot here. It's a bit of a weird play by him again. I'm not sure what to make of that. I think I probably should just fold the turn here. I don't think if I call here, if I call here it should look quite strong, but it also would look like I might have a draw. So on the river, if I try to bluff, I might just end up getting check called pretty quickly with some sort of 2-pair hand or a set. Though the implied odds are tempting, I think I probably should have folded here. Unfortunately, I didn't fold. I ended up making the call, just because it's not too bad a call as well, just because of my immediate outs I have. On the river, he checks, and because I call the turn, I felt thoroughly obligated to bluff the river, just in case he had something like 7-8-6, maybe 7-8-6 with clubs. I'm unsure if I like this bluff. I think, given his line, he might just have 2-pair too much of the time, and I end up getting snap called. Which is what actually ended up happening, even though it looks like me results orientated. I think that might just be the case too much. And we can see like he had like kind of like a 2-pair hand, which did kind of make sense. He's led it to protect himself on the flop and turn. King, Queen, Jack 6 looks quite tempting to play, but it's actually kind of a weak hand, I think. I think a lot of people starting PLO overrate those hands. You don't have a nut suit, you have Queen high clubs. You also have like the Jack, which blocks some lower flush draws. Even though the King, Queen, Jack is nice, the 6 kind of hurts it as well. Just having the dangler is not pretty in that spot. I get some weak 10, double suited 10s, and it's kind of a marginal raise, but I think there's a bit of connectivity going on with the 10-8 and the 8-5, so I think it's probably just about worth raising pre. The Jack 9-8-6 with 3 diamonds is a very weak hand, but it's got some connectivity, and given the fact that it's gone min-raise call, I'm getting very good odds to peel, so I think it's a pretty easy peel pre. On the flop, I have Jack high diamonds with some backdoors going on. It's too weak of a hand to check call, so I think leading here is best, given the fact that people have min-raised pre. There's going to have quite a wide range, so I think just leading here for 3/4 will take it down enough, and with some backdoor equity and sometimes my flush is live, I can get some I can win the pot on the turn and maybe on the river. I get 3-bet with my 10s, and I think it's a pretty easy fold. 10s play pretty poorly without deep stacks. and you end up flopping like a pair, like your pair of tens, which you're probably second pair, and like a 10 high flush draw, and you end up getting in pretty terrible shape. So I think folding to 3-bet is the best way to go. So I get 2 calls here with the hand on the left. I turn very well. I've got my flush draw, and I also have a nice wrap going on. I've got a king, a 9, a jack, and an 8, and a lot of them will make me the nuts. Actually, that's not true. Some of them will make me the nuts. But given how the hand's played, it's not going to be that easy for someone to have a better straight if I make, like, if I the river's a king and I've got jack 9, you'd have to have something like ace jack 9-8 with maybe ace high diamonds. That's not actually not possible given the fact I've got the 9 and 8, but sort of like ace high flush draw. And given the fact they can't really have ace 3-5 with diamonds because that would be a pretty big wrap, I expect to get re-raised on the flop with that. I see if I make like a king high straight here, I think it's most likely to be the best hand. So I'm just going to lead again for like 3/4, I think, or maybe even pot it, and see what happens. So I get called pretty fast. Looks like it's probably some sort of draw. To be called that fast, to me, he didn't really think about raising. But I have 3 diamonds myself, so I'm not really sure what hand he would have. Maybe something like 3-4-5. No, sorry, 6-5-3. Sorry, with a sort of like a low end straight wrap. I decided to lead the river just because if he's made some sort of like 2 pair with a, like maybe backdoor like queen 2, king 2, I expect to get called a lot. And if I check, I'm not entirely sure he's going to bluff that much, though he might have thinking about it now. Okay, on the right table I've got a pretty nice hand here with the ace jack 10-9 with nut suits. Nut suits very powerful in PLO. A lot of your equity will come from draw over draw situations. On the left table I get a very pretty weak hand, but a guy's limped pre, and my hand plays very well multi-way, so I decided just to limp and see a flop. The guy limp called here on the right table, so I'm just going to c-bet that board. Since the board's a low board, you would expect them not to have hit it very often, so I think you should c-bet that board a lot, and hopefully they'll just take it down straight away. Even though I don't have any backward equity at all on the flop, I think just the immediate fold equity will make it a profitable bet. On the left table there's a pretty bad river, made like 9x a straight possible, so I just folded to the guy's bet. So I flopped very well on the left table here, flop top boat. A lot of people might be tempted to slow play in this spot, but I don't think that's a wise move. If they've got a jack, they're going to put a lot of money in, and in PLO, when you've got a chance to put a lot of money in when they're drawing basically dead, you should always take the opportunity. You know, you don't get very many chances in PLO to get a guy drawing dead to you. So, given the fact if he has a jack, he's not going to fold ever, then I think just betting now is the best. And as well, if he's got some weak jack like jack 7-6-5, then an ace turn looks pretty scary to him, and like a heart turn looks pretty scary too. So, given the fact that his jack is looking a lot stronger now, he's probably more willing to put money in now than he will do on a later street if the board gets scary. I mean, the worst thing could be like if you turn quads, then you've just killed your chance to win a stack by checking. Whereas if you bet now, there's a good chance you'll just get all the money. Also bet fairly big as well, since like if you've got a jack, they're not going to fold. and you get repotted, so pretty ecstatic. And the guy had a wheat jack there. If I slow played there, the turn would have been a queen, and I'm not saying he would have folded, but it would have been a lot harder to get a stack because queen's a pretty scary card for him. He probably would just check call with his jack instead of check potting the flop like he did. So on the right table, I make a pretty light open here. I wouldn't open this in the under the gun +1, but in the cutoff, given the fact we've got a nut suit and a pair, I just about think it's strong enough to open. It plays pretty well multi-way as well, so it doesn't matter if you go heads up or multi-way. You can have position a lot of time if it's heads up, and multi-way it does very well. I have flop the nuts, which is pretty nice. I'm just going to c-bet and hope I get raised or play backed on this board. Top left, a guy's limp, so I'm just going to check that if it gets completed to me. It's very weak hands, just want to see a free flop. So again I flop the nuts, but I also have a redraw here. Definitely have to lead. Well, no, that's not true. I was going to lead if it checked to me because I don't know how much Psychorez will bet if I check, and I want to get as much money as possible now with the nuts and a redraw than it going check through and like a 5 killing my action or the board pairing and I can't play for stacks anymore. On the bottom right, he calls pretty fast. I'm just going to go for 3 streets here. Don't think it's any other option really. Obviously the fact that the turn was a 10, I checked. I don't really like my check on the turn. I guess I was thinking that I stabbed before and check followed a turn, he might stab again if I check to him, and then I guess I wouldn't check raise because it looks probably too strong, but I could check call and represent, I know, maybe like a 10 or an overpair that being stubborn. I think I should probably just lead again. Given I checked the river though, I think I should check the river. I'm probably not going to get called by a weak 2 pair like 7-4. So if I lead, I'm probably not getting called by that. But if he has, you know, something like just like naked queens here, or if he rivered Jack 6, Jack 7, a high 2 pair, he's going to bet it himself, and I can check raise. Given the fact you didn't bet the turn, I can't really be beat here. I can't imagine me ever being beat, in fact. So I think if I bet, I'll get called, but the hands that would call me would probably bet themselves. So if I check, there's a chance he might call the check raise. So I decided to go for a check raise, I believe. And on top left here, obviously I'm just going to erase here since I've got the nuts and a redraw and a limp pot. I just want to get as much value as possible. So he bets pretty quickly, and I just if he's got a good 2 pair, I don't think it's going to fold, so I'm just going to make a pretty big size raise and just hope to get called. On the left, I think I defended pre from memory if the action goes correctly. Okay, I defended pre. So this guy led the flop, and did I lead the flop? No, he led the flop, and I decided to call. I think my call's actually kind of bad here. My hand's pretty weak, but most importantly of all, I don't have backdoors to continue with on later streets here. I'm often going to get barreled with sort of like Queen Jack 10 hands, flush draws, so I think I should just fold the flop. He did bet half pot, so I guess peeling for half pot isn't too bad. But again, it's not I mean, given how weak the hand is, I think folding and calling are pretty marginal. You just have reversed implied odds here, like now you just have to fold. Okay, a guy checks out a position. I think he had to post there, so I'm just going to isolate him with my very weak hand. On the right table, I think this is kind of a marginal spot. I have a suited ace and sort of connectivity there. I'm not entirely sure how good those hands are, so I think it's pretty close between calling and folding with that hand. I decided to fold because I know that Gaz is a reg, so I think if the guy was a weaker player, I would have called for sure. Against a reg, I probably would lean towards folding that. I also get a powerful hand next hand, and there's been a few limps, so I'm just going to bump it up. Make a pretty light open on the button, but position's fine. So I flop. Kind of an interesting spot here actually. I flop not great. I have top pair, but against hands that will raise over a c-bet, I'm in probably quite bad shape. Against two pair, I'm not in fantastic shape. I'm probably about a 35% dog against two pair. Against a set, I'm drawing almost dead. I decided here, I think, to check the flop because it looks pretty strong when I bet, and I'm sort of over-repping my hand a bit if I bet. But given the fact I have clean two pair outs against ace 4 and ace 8, and I have a 10 to make me some inside wrap, and a spade to give me the nut flush draw, and also I have the king of clubs. That means I can bluff turns when the club comes, or bluff rivers by like check jamming with my blocker. I decided with so many backdoors I was going to check the flop. I flop my nuts in the top right. Just going to go for 3 streets with my nuts. Now, I got potted on the flop here, which is a weird bet size. My hand looks strong, but against the guy who's potted the flop, I wasn't really confident at all. I don't think calling is kind of meh now because I can't really see him shutting down on many turns if I call the flop. He would realise I would seat bet my strong hand, so I think he would put me on kind of the hand I have, and he could put a lot of pressure on me on the turn. So I decided just to fold the flop, and I think given his bet size, I think it's probably the best move. I debated calling, but I figured that folding would be best. Top left, get a pretty bad turn here, but I'm probably still ahead, and I want to protect my hand against something like Jack 10, 8, like 9, 7 with hearts, just like a queens with hearts. So I think just betting for value, and if he raises, then sort of making a decision after that is the best plan. And he folded pretty quickly. Okay, top left is a pretty weak hand, and I fold that pre. Bottom right's a very powerful hand. It's not very powerful, but the fact it's a low rundown hurts the hand quite a lot, but having double suited rundown like this is very powerful. The best thing about them is that if you 3-bet pre, then no matter what happens, you basically can't fold ever in the hand pre-flop. So I think it's a pretty easy 3-bet, and with my position and the strength of my hand, I'm just gonna 3-bet and try and take it down, if not take it down post-flop. As well, one of the best things about these hands are that when you 3-bet, you look like you have a strong hand with high cards. Having hands in your range that are low, like this one, means on boards like this, that we've hit fairly well. Not super strong, but hit fairly well. We have second pair, open-ender, a weak flush draw. Then if the board was something like 2-3 6, say, then it's hard for me to have 5-4, so you might get played back on that board, and you might get all in very well, because it looks like you can't hit that board very strongly. Here, given my equity I'm going to have against everything, I'm just going to bet call it off pretty happily. Against 10-3, I'm a favourite. Obviously my hand's not very strong, versus some hands, like a 10 and a higher flush draw, I'm in pretty poor shape, but against any sort of 2-pair, even against a set, I'm basically a flip because I've got an open ender and a flush draw to go with it. Okay, I think we're coming up to about 30 minutes now, and I think I might round off the action here for the moment. I've got probably another 1 or 2 videos of footage left from this series, so I'll probably see you for the next episode. Goodbye.